Hello Internet. This video is going to be a little different. It's part one of a series of videos on South African music. 100 years of South African music to be precise. In memory of the late Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela, I hope that by the end of this series you know a little more about the music and history of this beautiful country. Before we begin though, I'd like to lay out some caveats. The first of which is that as these videos are significantly shorter than my usual output, as they're part of a larger series, I can't cover the subject in such detail. Secondly, although South African music is intimately linked with it, this series is not an overview of South African history. References to historical sources are made as and when they're needed. Finally, as noted musicologist Kofi Agawu suggests, information about music in pre-colonial Africa is scanty. The earliest records stem from archaeological findings in which dance movements and musical instruments are featured. With the Arab exploration of North Africa and the Sahara during the 7th through 12th centuries and the arrival of Europeans in the 15th, the written and historical record becomes a bit more precise. By far the clearest imaginings of pre-colonial musical society comes from the written accounts of various travellers, explorers and missionaries. However, in reading these reports one must not underestimate the extent to which they are constructed, that is, woven together on the basis of observation, imagination and prejudice. For these reasons, and in the interest of covering such a vast topic as South African music, I'm choosing to focus on the development of music from 1900 to 2000. Music in South Africa, like the people who have inhabited it, has blended together with numerous external influences for hundreds of years. From the Bantu migration south from sub-Saharan Africa, the arrival of white settlers, the original inhabitants of South Africa, the Khoi and San peoples, the arrival of slaves from India, Malaysia and Indonesia, to the labour migrations that characterised much of the 20th century. The first thing to note is that the evolution of South African music is inseparable from the country's socio-political history. With this in mind, it's no surprise that perhaps the most prominent music of the late 1890s and early 20th century was gospel. With the arrival of European missionaries and the emergence of an educated black African class, musically educated in missionary schools, many of whom went on to compose hymns for their congregations, the vocal music of various southern African peoples began to merge with the harmonic structures of European missionary hymns. With the later influence of American spirituals, the result was a distinctly southern African style of hymnody. The most famous spiritual of this style to be composed was of course the current South African national anthem, Nkosi Sikelel' Afrika. Composed by Enoch Sontonga, a teacher at a Methodist mission school in Johannesburg in 1897, it went on to become the unofficial anthem of the banned ANC and the struggle against white minority rule. To this day, it's the national anthem of 3 African nations, South Africa, Zambia and Tanzania, and it is considered the continent's only Pan-African anthem. The emphasis on choirs by missionaries, combined with the traditional vocal music of Southern African peoples, created perhaps one of the best known and certainly oldest forms of what has come to be called traditional South African music, the Zulu a cappella music Isicathamiya, the most famous exponents of which are Ladysmith Black Mambazo. Isicathamiya grew from an earlier form of Zulu music called Mbube, meaning lion, and I can almost guarantee that you've heard at least one version of this style. The emphasis of Mbube, however, was to sing in a powerful manner, whereas Isicathamiya seeks to achieve fluid and harmonious blending of numerous voices, further illustrating the influence of the European harmonies. Although we can analyse and explain each musical genre as it developed through history, the main point to remember is that when we discuss South African music, we were really talking about music that was developing before the concept of a South Africa even existed. And even when it did, it often changed suddenly and violently. South African music as we know it today began as a bricolage of different styles and influences from all over the world. Christopher Ballantyne puts this far more eloquently than I ever could when he suggests, if there's one concept which is fundamental to any understanding of urban black popular music in South Africa, it is that this music is a fusion, vital, creative, ever-changing, wrought by people of colour out of the long bitter experience of colonisation and exploitation. The colonisers brought not only guns for the heathen flesh and Bibles for the soul, but with equal pride, the trappings of an entire culture, including its leisure activities. Just as the country is often referred to as the Rainbow Nation, its musical traditions reflect the diversity of its beginnings. And there you have it, a brief introduction to South African music at the turn of the 20th century. Tune in next time for the emergence of jazz and the unruliness of Marabi. If you have any questions or comments, then feel free to post in the comment section below. And if you want to keep learning about ethnomusicology, musicology, or are just interested in what people think is going on with music, then don't forget to subscribe. And as always, I will see you soon.